Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Did you have your copy or
No.
did you want a copy?
Yes, please. Wasn't prepared.
You don't have everything memorized?
I can speak now.
You could.
I figured
You could if you had.
I think that's if they don't.
Oh, no. That's fine.
Okay, hang on.
I'm sending them a message. Wake up. It's time to go to City Hall. That's my face.
Well, and I mentioned Tuesday that we were presenting today.
You thought it was 8:30?
Did he? No.
So,
We can go. We can start. He'll be here. He doesn't live far away.
Good. Good. I don't think we've officially met before. Brandon. Where? Tim Crook. Yes.
Dan?
Troy. Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come with baggage, don't I?
Yeah. Something like that.
Today is August 17th, it's 8:01 a.m. We will be resuming our budget meeting this morning, and I need a motion and a second to reopen the budget meeting.
I'll make the motion to reopen the budget meeting.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We will start with our fire department here, and Dan is going to give us, oh, thank you for reminding me. Let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure.
Shame on me.
Because we're continuing.
Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for putting all this together. So I'm just going to turn it over and you can kind of chat with us and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I think everybody knows we're looking at new trucks. We have been for 5+ years. It's getting close to where we really have to do it. Which you'll read some of that here. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read through it. There's basically NFPA guidelines. It's not a rule, but any truck past 25 years old should be removed from service. So the truck we're looking at replacing is Unit 2. If you guys have ever been in the fire station, it sits in the back corner. It's tough to drive, barely anybody knows how to drive it, it's manual transmission, and the pumps aren't operating. It's not the safest vehicle we own. A few years ago, just sitting in the station, one of the tires blew. So it's got good tires on it now, but it's not our best rig. So what we're looking at doing, there was a lot of misconceptions about this with previous councils that they thought we were trying to replace our number 1 pumper. That's not our goal. We want to replace the old one and sell our heavy rescue and combine them in one truck. Okay. So biggest thing with that is it reduces the fleet size by 1 large truck, which is huge for the future. That would save the city a lot of money. And it gives us a more capable truck. You know, we've got luckily a good team right now and more people than most, but still during the daytime, it's tough to get a few people. So right now, if we have a car accident during the daytime, we have room 2 trucks. So we need a truck that can put out a fire and a truck that can cut somebody out of the car.
Okay.
That new truck, 1 truck.
So unit number 4 is the one you're trading?
That would be, we trade it or sell it outright.
Okay, so yeah, if you would reiterate that, unit number 4 would be trade or sell.
Yep.
I'm looking at your inventory, right?
Yep. And then unit 2 would be also trade or sell.
Okay.
There was a question at, I don't know, one of our, whether it was finance or council meetings regarding budget. Is it realistic to get a lot of trade value out of the vehicle?
So when we looked at this a few years ago, we started kind of reaching out there a little bit just to see what value would be on unit 4. And there was a department at like $125,000 that wanted it. And that was without us even trying. That was one fire truck salesman that's like, hey, I know you're looking at it. I know this department is looking for that. Let's see if they're kind of interested. So
What city was it?
it was somewhere in northern Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I mean, we haven't ever tried putting it on the open market because we have nothing to replace it with, so I think it would sell pretty easy.
Does this all need to be at one's, we gotta coordinate it so it all happens relatively close to each other?
To a point, yeah. And that's pretty common in that industry, so a little background on me, I spent 10 years working in the fire truck industry.
Okay.
Almost 8 years at Rose Power, and 6 years at Custom Fire and Osceola, so. I'm here to talk to you guys about this because I have a lot of experience in it, and because Jake works at Rose Power, so. There's a conflict there.
Okay.
So yeah, that is our goal. You've probably seen the price on here, and it's a lot of money. If you look at the one that has HJC buy at the top. So the price for how we spec it now came in at $914. There would be about a $15,000 discount if the city was able to pay for the chassis upon completion, which is probably a quarter of the price of the truck, and maybe a third.
You did 15%, right?
15,000.
Okay, 15,000, all right.
Well, 15% would be really cool, but I don't think I can do that.
How long does it take to manufacture? Like, what's the process we have to go through?
So right now, it's probably close to 2.5 to 3 years. Which is significant. When I left that industry just 2 years ago, it was 18 months maybe, but everything since then has made it just go crazy, including pricing, unfortunately. We have tried for grants 3 times over the last 5 years. We've been denied. For my research I did on that in 2018, and I've got that written in here. In the early 2000s, right after 9/11, there was a lot of money in FEMA grants. And we got them for a truck rental. And I think the math I did on that, there was about 300 million in truck grants given away that year. In 2018, there was about 40 million. So it's significantly less and very competitive. The city of Taylor Falls has a very nice split comparative to, around us, we're in the middle probably. I mean, we haven't bought a big truck in 17 years. But you go out to some really rural areas and they have just nothing. So those are the people getting FEMA grants for trucks these days, the people that really, really need it.
So they require a down payment?
They would.
Order, and then chassis, and then.
And then final when it's delivered. I don't know the specifics on the down payment. One thing to note, this purchase order thing he sent us here from Rosenbauer is their HGAC buy, which is a buying consortium, so the trucks are pre-bid. So that is a way around competitive bidding if we wanted to go that way, but that being said, we can competitively bid it as well. There's a lot of people using this these days, they get what they want. Every fire apparatus manufacturer has pre-bid with HGAC buy, and then you can change it up to a certain percentage, so. It's
And
pretty common.
HGAC goes out and they shop all the other manufacturers. or-
Yeah, I think it's probably yearly, they have to all rebid their base specification, and then you can say, I'm gonna buy that base truck and change up to a certain percentage of it. But I think they've all got enough base models, you can pretty much buy whatever you want from it. So, I'm not here to ask, like, yes or no, can we buy a truck, obviously that's a much bigger process, but we need to get the number in front of you guys, at least budgetary wise, something to be thinking about, that this is something we need to do, we need to get it on order in the pretty near future.
Would you say that like within a year, you guys are looking to get a number?
Sooner the better. Hopefully things improve a little with lead times, and we can get it sooner, but that's hard to say. We realize it's a process, it's the biggest expenditure the city's probably looking at.
We've been putting, is it the capital fund? Is that where we were holding is, I think, is that correct? Capital fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
60,000 or 70, was it?
Is the balance now?
70 per year, is it?
And that was supposedly split between Public Works and Fire Department,
Right.
whoever needed it most of the time.
Morning, Fire and Light.
Yeah, it looks like 60, it looks like the last couple of years it was 65,000.
What line is that?
Page 11,
Okay. Oh, I see it, got it. Thank
and
you.
it, last year was
Less than
70, the last couple of years.
Okay.
Do we know the balance on it as of now?
Yeah, that would be my question.
I
So-
have 217. Is that about right?
That could be, I know that could be.
217,000, just a little north of that.
Realistically, about a third of the money is available if we sell the other truck. Approximately. We've obviously got specs on this, this is a real price, like, if we wanted to buy it today, we could, obviously I'm not asking that, but there's a lot that will probably change between now and then, by the time we actually order. I mean, we have set specs, went through with our truck committee over there, kinda got close, told them we want a real formal proposal to actually bring to you guys, instead of just a number written on a post-it note or something. That number will change up or down, so.
Changing because you're gonna add things, or changing just because of?
Possibly remove things, add things, tweak things,
Okay.
you know. I didn't print you guys the specs or send them over because it's probably 60 pages of just words. But lots of little things. If you order a truck, you end up sitting down with a pre-con meeting with the manufacturer and some people and go through it line by line. Is this actually what we want? Where do we actually want it? I'd rather have this. I mean, fully custom is whatever you want. Trying to be realistic. There's even a few things in here I'd like to be realistic about with the truck committee. And do we really need that right now and stuff like that, so. But they are very expensive these days.
Sure. Do you, can either of you guys, or do you have any more questions? I know you just got here, so I don't know. We just got this morning, so.
I'll fill some time. As the fire department, are there any other options, right?
For a truck?
Yes, I mean, were there any other options for the fire department? What you were saying, past 25 years is recommended replacement, and
Yes.
currently, right now, we're at how many?
Unit 2 is at 37.
37, okay.
It's older than me.
It's not older than me.
I actually helped build one.
Okay.
You must have done a good job.
Do you, do you use it a lot? I mean, I can see all the issues on here that you put down, and I appreciate it. Do you guys try to avoid using it, basically, or?
We do. It's technically our backup pumper, but it's to the point where not many people know how to operate it, and, or know how to drive it really, so. It oftentimes, that's why we moved it to the back even. We used to move it like every time we had to pull a truck up behind it, and realized that was kind of silly, push it in the corner. So now it's the last person there that's gonna drive a truck to a call takes that. It's not a great backup.
Sure.
That being said, if we get this new truck we want, you know, to kind of keep ISO and the NFPA things, your first out apparatus, as it reads in there, is supposed to be, they recommend less than 15 years old, or beyond that with unit 1 anyways, but that's a great truck. We have no reason getting rid of it. We see both of those trucks leaving our calls, instead of leaving a truck back in the corner, which is a much better use of the truck. People know how to use it, and they're constantly getting used too.
Sure. I have no other questions. I know we're gonna figure out how we're gonna, within a year,
Yeah.
we're gonna place the order at least, and then figure out how we're gonna come up with the rest after that. So I am happy to see that we can, sell our trade unit 4, and then see what we get for the older one that you guys don't use much.
Yeah, it's, what we get is what we get.
Can they bring that, could Rosenbauer buy that back and tear it down and?
They could, they won't. It's old enough that nobody's
Okay.
gonna want us to put money into it, but that being said, there are departments out there that would want the truck.
Okay.
For years, we had planned on it just saying it was worth $5,000, scrap value, but used trucks have actually gone up a decent amount, they might be worth a little more than that. I wouldn't count on it being any significant amount towards the budget, just kind of a, we get what we get, and it's a little, a bonus. Make the first payment towards a new one or something.
Sure.
And the newest one you just got is this, 2022 Ford, right?
Yes.
350, okay. How's that working? Everything's good? Do you like that?
We do.
Yeah,
So full transparency, I built that truck,
okay.
at basically cost of materials to the city.
Well, thank you.
I also, for full transparency, plan on doing some work on whatever new truck we get at the same rate. We're ordering it really stripped down shelves and wires and stuff, so I'll do most of that myself. That is a number we need to add to this, or they remove some stuff, and it'd still be in the same ballpark. I just need to buy the material, the shelves, put it all in, hang everything where we want it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't have any more
No,
questions?
we'll have to plug and play, we'll keep you guys posted, obviously Troy's your liaison, so
Yeah.
he'll work with you guys and.
Yeah, sorry for not getting you this stuff sooner, I got the price like this week.
No, this is great to see, cause like you said, it's been guessing, we've all been guessing, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
we knew it was coming.
Yeah, is it $500,000 or 1.5?
We knew it was big.
I'm happy to see it's only a 6-digit number.
Today.
Today.
It's close to that breach with, this, I assume these are 2023 pricings.
Yeah, January 1st, there could very easily be a 3 to, I don't know, 10% price increase. I'm not sure what's completely going on that side of things right now.
I think when we look at it, we just take the median, we think it'll go up another 6%, plan for that, and then, you know, shoot high, and then when it doesn't, then we don't spend as much as we mentally think we spend.
Right.
If we could have that balance plugged in, Mary, for the next meeting, the capital fund.
Sure.
I don't know if you have to make another field for that or not, but,
No, it's just not calculated at the bottom of the sheet.
okay,
That was
gotcha, right.
Due to me being ill, nothing got updated from last Thursday.
So really, January 1 on that goes up another 70,000 too, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe, I don't, we haven't decided, we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, that's
We're gonna talk about that today, so, there's perfect timing for here, so, probably, if not more.
Yeah.
Forecasting
Wow.
though, it doesn't look good, right, if you're
Wow.
talking a year. I'm just letting you know the capital fund, that it's not
Yeah.
gonna make it, it's not enough.
No, not at all. This is unfortunately a borrowing thing.
What other, I mean, as far as, opportunities to raise money, what do, I mean, I know we have some fundraisers. Do you know what other fire departments have done in the past when they're?
I know a lot of them are doing a
We
lot
can't
of
sell them
things.
pancakes, right, so I mean, that's.
Yeah, so a couple of departments around here that do big fundraisers, like one thrashing show last weekend, they don't make all that much money on that. It sounds like a lot, it's like 10 smelt fries, but 10 smelt fries is $25,000. So it's a drop in the bucket and a ton of work.
Sure.
I have a lot of personal opinions about doing fundraisers, but I don't believe that's really why we're there. I enjoy doing a few of them, just as community relations type things, but it's, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious, I don't know what the rest of the departments around here.
No, I don't, Stacy has a big dance, I think they bring in about the same amount, but it's, yeah,
Not game changing.
no.
And I think I mentioned this when we were talking about the Schaefer Township contract. There's no, allowance for capital costs in the calculation, because it's all based on our expenses,
Right.
so.
Okay.
And I do wanna, mention 2022, I think you came in, the fire department came in under budget, which was really good, at least from what I got off the audit and everything, so, that's good. I mean, take that back, I mean, we all appreciate that. There was a couple, I'll find it here, but, here we go. Got $12,000 under budget, actually almost close to 13, so
Wow, I wouldn't expect that.
that's the numbers I have.
use of it now. That's obviously Jake's deal, but
Right.
we're replacing things as they need to be replaced, and obviously trucks are totally different. That's out of the budget, basically, when you start talking about that.
Not enough to pay for a new truck.
No.
It's good to see us, it's helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, well, if we have any questions, we'll reach out to you and
Yeah, absolutely.
Jake. We'll plug that in. If you really want to, you'll see a post and so you can see what we come up with, but we'll share it obviously with you guys.
Yeah.
The video will be posted if you wanna watch the rest of the meeting. I know you probably have work to go up to.
I do actually, but yeah.
Okay.
No, this was just, I was here to just tell you, is what we're looking at, about how much it costs. We'll obviously ask for formal approval during the council meeting someday.
Sure.
Once you get a little closer to figuring out how budgeting will work, and if it'll work,
Okay,
so.
well, perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Have a good day.
You too.
I was thinking 700,000, so $1 million is a little more than I was thinking.
Yeah. So who do we talk to figure out what our funding mechanisms might be? Would it be Brad from APDO? Would it?
We could reach out to the league and see if they have anything, but I mean, I just don't. We're not gonna be able to raise enough in
No.
2.5 years to pay for this. We just aren't, we don't have the capital to do it.
Not really.
Everybody's houses, Molly'd be busy, she'd be selling everybody's houses, so we don't wanna do that.
Dan did mention borrowing as an alternative, and that's, I guess, it's almost our only alternative.
Right. Well, and it is
And LMC might have information on that too.
it is a 20 to 30-year investment. And generally, that's what those mechanisms are for, large capital items that you pay for over time, the community benefits from it over that period of time, and doesn't sink you financially.
I think we figure out what exactly our full total is before we plug anything in. I mean, no matter what, I think we go higher than 70 this year, but,
Yeah.
because we wanna at least have, half.
The down payment.
You mentioned 217 is what you remember for the balance?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was on a previous, council packet. I don't even know how old it was, but, I think that might have been, that was a separate fund that taxes go to. So that might have been before our last round of revenue from either the county or state.
Yeah, that could be, and remember, we get one more disbursement too with, property taxes this year, so I'll take a look.
Alright, well, I think we push that one out till the next meeting, because I don't feel comfortable just
Right.
No.
putting what was always been done, but I need to look more at this. And I mean, we do have 217, I put 125,000 for the other truck. So now we're at 340, we'll just say, maybe $5,000 for the one that's not used, so we're at 345.
And that's assuming 100% of it goes to the fire truck.
Exactly.
Public Works,
Yep.
yes, it needs to.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have we thought about looking at any used ones, and maybe Rosenbauer is taking in used ones, that are newer, that are already built? The other thing is like, or just other cities maybe. The other thing is that if you guys are gonna take on the debt and have debt service, will you be able to roll that into your capital costs so that Shaver would also be participating in that?
That's what I wanna ask Brad about, because I don't, the way municipalities account is not like a normal business would.
Right.
So you'd have depreciation, as an expense that you
It
could.
does seem like something that should be taken into consideration if you're gonna contract with other cities, it isn't entire city budget, you know, is almost ridiculous, honestly.
Well, let's see if we can send Jake a message and see if he can give, tell us if there's used truck options through either of the manufacturers that are in our area. We're lucky to have two, so we could call them both. The league has a site, I'll go on that and look, cause they have the site that all the other cities list stuff for sale, so maybe they'll have something on there, and we can kind of just use that as a base to see what trucks would go for it.
Sure.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna ever vote to borrow, because I don't borrow for myself. And so
Yeah.
you guys are on your own on that one. For the next 3 weeks, I'm gonna vote no on every borrowing, because I don't borrow, so that's my personal opinion, so.
And have you guys thought about maybe asking Tammy how to not get, help with the grant writing? Because that's all she does, she's very good at it, and it doesn't hurt to keep
Yeah.
making runs at grant money,
Yeah, we should never stop doing that.
asking for grant money, right, yeah. But she may have some,
I'll send her an email and see if we can set up a time just to look and see if she'll know anything that's,
Yeah.
you know, out. And we can also reach out to the league and see if they can give us a list of what's available coming up.
yeah.
Well, I'll prepare myself to convince you that borrowing is a good idea.
Never happened.
In certain circumstances, I will throw a caveat, because I don't disagree with you 100%.
My house is the only thing that I owe money on, so, I haven't had a credit card in 12 years. So, but anyway, that's my personal life, I just won't vote on it, so, I'll let you guys do that. Alright, well, you wanna start with Public Works, we might as well
Sure.
get into what we can plug in, and then we'll come back. Let's come back at the end, so let's push the fire department out into the last, Thursday of August, that'll give us time to reach out. We'll also be able to add maybe some information on grants, and maybe we can put something together just to share what a used one would cost versus a new one, just so that we can let everybody know what we're looking at.
I mean, even if it was a third of the cost, and it's 10 years old, 15 years old, that gives us at least 10 years to start really, you know, until we can get caught up with the roof and all this other stuff. It seems like that would be a much better alternative.
And I did attend that meeting a couple, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, that was held in Lindstrom, where that, you know, basically a lot of the Chisago County cities came together. They do sell, help out other cities, other municipalities with stuff like this. However, this is a pretty big purchase that I don't think, a lot of the cities, it's something they don't really have. I mean, they would be in the same situation where they would have to purchase a new vehicle or a used vehicle. I mean, what I'm saying is I like the idea, but I don't think we're gonna find a city in this area that we can buy a used truck from. So we might need to go, you know, outside.
Well, and I don't wanna burst the bubble right away without checking either, and we should do everything we can to find out, but I'm guessing most municipalities are in the same situation. where
Right.
They have 30-year-old trucks that
Yeah.
they've been holding on to because they can't afford a new
Right.
one. Because I don't think even the big municipalities are gonna replace a truck in 15 years.
My dad worked for Minneapolis for 35 years. He drove some really old vehicles. And in fact, this last weekend, I was down in Minneapolis and saw the one that he drove. It's still being used, a hook and ladder. That was really old then. So,
And it's not like a city dissolves itself like a business might, where you'd have some equipment and supplies and stuff that they'd be willing to get rid of.
Well,
So-
the other thing would be is really looking at what would it take financially to refurbish the existing one. I think that guys that don't know how to drive a stick shift, come on, everybody can learn how to drive a stick shift. They should know how to drive it, but as far as the pumping and all that, maybe it's worth looking at what's it gonna cost to maybe rebuild the motor, you know, if they feel like it's got high miles and it's that, and what's it gonna take to really upgrade the existing truck? Because if that is $150,000 versus $915,000, and they're pretty much getting a rehab truck, that might be completely worthwhile and feasible. And then that gives you enough life to start setting aside enough money that, okay, but we're gonna plan for in 10 years, 15 years. You know, so that would be another alternative. It's not like the truck is terrible, but maybe they all need to take a class on how to drive a stick shift.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that the main roadblock, from what we understand, that,
Well, he
that
listed
is
it
the
here.
clutch?
The pump, the limited pump capacity and
Okay.
the manual transmission were the first two, so those are
Right.
probably the two.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
obviously nobody's gonna steal it,
The
right?
steering's probably not great, you know.
But, you know, this guy that, you know, did all this work to the truck, maybe, or even Lee can go through it and say, look, you know, if we're gonna salvage this truck and get it to last for another 5 years or 7 years, what do we need to do to get it up to the standards that the state wants or whoever? And, you know, that might be a better use of the money if we've got money, you know, set aside in that account, that might be a better alternative. You know, and then it's vintage and rehab. You know, nothing wrong with that.
Well, he spoke very highly of Unit 1, but that's 17 years old.
The whole fleet's old. It really is.
I mean, it's got 10 more years, but at least I would say, but.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that this money hasn't been getting set aside every year, you know, but it is what it is.
Thank you. I like your ideas.
Okay, Lee, chime in whenever you'd like. The packet, it's got the yellow and the pink on the front sheet, is what Lee and I have been working with Kevin on. The first sheet, general government buildings, we didn't talk about that yet. When I was going through the packet, it didn't really have an assigned person to it. There's not a lot there, so I'm guessing it's mainly talking with Mary.
We can have Larry's, I don't have, I think I'm at a few minutes. Thank you,
This
Larry.
is my stuff. There's not a whole lot there, but it's just, we are gonna have to go back and fill in the blanks there. And I guess a question I have, is this the city hall building? Or is
I
this,
think it's all the buildings.
So 5,500 for all of our buildings is for maintenance and repair, even up here.
cleaning services is on here? It's not the public works building, because we parsed that out
Okay.
under public works. Community center has its own, library has its own,
So it must just be this.
must be.
Okay. I'm gonna make a note there, city hall.
We'll assume that.
Let me go back to my,
Yeah, I guess I don't see, I'm looking at the spreadsheet, but the audit has, 2022 audit has a total for public works of 196,879. That's the actual amount spent in 2022, and I guess I didn't see where it had this in there.
No, this is a separate fund.
Okay, okay, so we're
I'm just
working
saying,
on
we
that.
need to make sure that
Okay,
somebody's
gotcha.
accountable, and I guess I'm
Okay.
raising Lee and I's hand.
Okay.
Sorry, Lee.
All right.
All right, and then, on the flip side of that is the public works budget. So wages and salaries, I plugged off just a preliminary estimate based on our current wages and, you know, some suppositions for what we're gonna decide to do for next year, which we haven't done yet. So that number will most certainly change, not dramatically, but somewhat. Part-time employees, I think we've got just north of was it 2,000 hours for them?
That's the seasonal, right?
Yeah, that's a seasonal, it's,
Can you reference what page you're?
Yeah, I'm.
Because I don't know which page.
so it's this flip side of, it's
First stop.
page,
So
page
page
5.
Page two. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the staples, if you flip it over, cover the page number, but all the odd pages have a page number on them, so this one we're talking about is 5, Public Works is in the upper left-hand margin.
Okay, thank you.
So this is more than last year. I'm not sure what was budgeted for this, I should say this year. We plugged in our 2 people we assume are coming back, what we anticipate their hourly rates being, and I think it was $16 and $14 respectively. And the number of hours we've calculated needing, I think it's basically June, July, August is all we have them in for. And the next several objects are just calculations based on their wages. Work comp is something, Mary, we need to talk about. I'm not sure if that went up significantly, down, but that will affect all our personnel budgets. And that's also one that, when I get to it, part of it gets charged to water, part of it gets charged to sewer as well. Little bit in there for training, and we kept that the same. Operating supplies, right now we kept it the same. Anything you see in yellow is something Lou and I are gonna have to go back and just verify. We had some questions regarding them. Motor fuels, gas has not gotten cheaper, unfortunately. And we're running, I would guess by the end of the year, we'll outstrip our budget for 2023. So we did up that quite a bit. We had a lot of snow in 2022, 2023 though. And diesel was very expensive. So, you know, to the extent that snow season was an anomaly, hopefully it'll come down a little bit, but gas prices are ticking up too, so.
Was there any kind of pre-buy with that, you know, like propane, where as a city you can contract to pre-buy some of those things, or like, I know my parents have, you know, farm gas. Is there any kind of programs like that to help mitigate
I
that?
don't think we have a whole big tank here, do we?
No, we don't have a tank.
Okay.
The only propane we have is for,
Right, I'm just saying, like, for diesel,
Sure.
like, is there a way
Well,
to work out with?
there is a way to buy on the Minnesota contract,
Yeah.
otherwise, as far as, they usually diesel. Yeah, the cheaper way would be get off the Minnesota contract. I tried to get a hold of somebody one time about that, and of course, they never would get back to you, because we're not very big.
Cause we're little.
Right.
And oftentimes they do have underground storage facilities or above ground.
Or even
to
just
keep
like
those full.
fleet, you know, some sort of fleet, something, I mean, I know we don't use 1,000,000 gallons, but.
Yeah, and
So-
unfortunately, we can't get the big rig in down in Casey's. We have to go all the way up the hill to get gas because it's too tall to get under the. So we're pretty limited on where we can even get
Right.
fuel in some cases. I think the fire department is the same, aren't they, Troy? They've got
Yeah.
to go up the hill.
Yeah, well, they've got a card now, I believe, you know.
Or can we
For
somehow
the
come in with
gas.
another city? You know, like,
Oh, partner
if
up.
all the cities are
Now, that's a
working
very
together,
good, that's a great idea.
maybe like Mississauga, because, you know, I'm sure the police, you know, they must get some sort of deal on gas, somewhere, and maybe, you know, if we started, you know, I know Lindstrom, Center City, and Mississauga work together, but there's no reason why we couldn't work with them to say, can we somehow partner with you so we can get the buying power that they have? Cause I'm sure the three of them are working together, but maybe that would be an alternative, cause, yeah, the gas prices, right now. As someone who drives every single day.
Thankfully, I don't have to.
Yeah,
I managed a rather large fleet, and we had a gas card,
yeah,
but it was pretty nominal, and we
Yeah.
spent a ton of money on gas.
but there might be
But
alternatives,
every little bit
you know.
helps.
Well, yeah.
Casey's rewards would help.
Right, I know, I know. Maybe talking to the other, talking to the Chisago Lake cities to partner with them
Well,
in
they go
any
to
kind of
Quick Trip.
respect with,
And Quick Trip has a fleet program, so maybe we reach out to Quick Trip and just say, we're gonna come to Quick, I mean, we're already going to Quick Trip.
Right.
right,
We're using the Menards card at Quick Trip, so.
right. But maybe there's something.
Okay.
Street maintenance materials, we're keeping that level. Let's see, anything else kind of significant? Kevin did check on the refuge and garbage disposal. I don't know, Mary, if he involved you in that, but he said we're getting a pretty good deal right now. It would have been more expensive to convert.
How about the repairs and maintenance equipment? I mean, we're obviously way over. Do we feel
Yeah.
like we just keep it the same because we fixed everything, or?
Well, the reason this one is highlighted is we're not sure. We think there might be a miscode in that.
Okay.
So we're gonna take a deep dive in there. But you can see, the 2022 actual to date. And we think that was half year, maybe last year. I can't remember what our conversation was, but, that was a fairly high number too. So we're gonna go through that account, take a look at it and see if maybe we don't think we've even paid for a street sweeper repairs yet. That's not included in the year to date.
It's not, but I think there were some previous repairs to street sweeper, wasn't there?
Okay.
And I think that might be why that's higher, but
So in our general guiding principle is make sure the expense goes to the object it belongs in, regardless of whether there's budget there or not.
So everything could have been just lumped in onto that, and we haven't spread it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can't track it and budget properly if we don't do that.
Do we have an actual, I was wondering if we have an actual from 2022 for that 2022-709? If that is June 30th, it'd be nice if we had an actual amount.
I think that was something I was gonna try to update before this meeting, but then being out sick, that I did not get to go through it. So
Yeah,
hopefully
right
that-
now, we've got 18,990, but that's probably, from what we thought, that's probably half.
Looks like everything's just lumped under.
Right, so we're probably looking at about around 37,000 actual for 2022. For that line item, repairs and equipment maintenance.
Yeah, well, so we've got some work to do on that. That's our most concerning line item. I mean, there's not a whole ton of money here, but, that's a big one from a percent perspective. Again, street sweeper expense, we'll budget something there, mostly for broom replacement. Talking with Lee, we may need to be sweeping more frequently than we have been.
Yeah.
It has been nice to see the street sweeper,
Yes.
after many years being in witness relocation.
Sidewalk repair, we did up that 1,000. We've got a number of sidewalks that are in some need of work. Safety, that's PPE and the boot allowance that we give. Yeah. The machinery rentals and leases, that's our skid steer. Uniforms, we dropped down a little bit. We're going away from the rental or lease, whatever you call it, and going to an allowance. So that'll save us a little bit of money there, and I think we'll get some better quality clothing for them too. Tree removal, we're continuing with 5. Hope to get some work done this year yet as well. That's what you don't see any year to date there, but we've got some work to do this year. New equipment is where I struggle because I don't know what the definition of capital is. For example, where I worked, it was anything that had a life expectancy of 5 years or more and was $5,000. We need a new broom for the skid steer, right, Lee? Is that
Mhm.
it? And that's $3,500. In my mind, it should come out of that capital fund for public works, but I don't know if that it meets the definition. So that's something we plan to talk to Brad about.
Do we have any, I'm sorry, do we have any history of expenses posted to new equipment that we could kind of figure out how it's
Not that I
been used in
have
the
yet.
past?
I mean, generally speaking, this is more in the hand tool disposable category. Like you go buy, electric drill, a battery operated drill, or, hand tools and, pretty low dollar items. But again, my reference point is, a business, not a municipality. So we've got some work to do there too. And then street lighting, we had a question for Mary. Is that primarily utilities?
I'm gonna say yes, but it could also be repairs, I believe. 'Cause it's
So-
all lumped into one, and we've had a few repairs and lights.
So,
I can look though, I'll look up that account.
so yellow again being, we'll talk to Mary more about that, but if it does include utilities, I would like to see an object for utilities under that, so we can track the actual utility billing separate from any repairs.
Utilities for the street lighting or utilities in general?
Street lighting.
Street lighting utilities, so charges for that, just
Yeah.
the street light. Now, we've got a couple of those, right? As far as our inventory replacements, we're good, so that will not be an expense. It
Yeah, I
shouldn't
think
be.
we've got one tall, one short, and 2 heads, if I remember right.
This
I'll have
also
to confirm that
includes
with Kevin, but
the stoplights that we found that we are in charge of.
this is not the
No.
stoplights, good
Okay.
question.
All right.
I hadn't thought about the stoplights.
We're in charge of the stoplights.
We are.
How is that possible on 2 new roads?
Well, evidently it's pretty typical. Lindstrom, I call Lindstrom and it's the same in Lindstrom. There is, not the controls, or if somebody hits the pole and knocks it down.
Just the.
Just the bulbs.
The illumination, yeah.
Okay.
And we don't have equipment to get to, so we always have to call somebody.
Well, and I wouldn't want anybody to go out on the highway, none of our staff.
But that's not under here, what word is that?
No, I don't
Just
know,
curious.
that's a good, I'm gonna make a note.
Are we in charge of the bulbs on the overhead streetlights?
Yes, those would all be city. That whole mechanism would be city responsibility.
I mean, cause there's one that's out, but I didn't know if it was like an XL thing or not. But maybe.
The only exception would be, well, and I don't even know if that would be an exception, like the church. They might have put in a security light.
Yeah.
And Excel had a program to put in security lights.
Can you use
I
one
don't-
in fire trucks? Does it have a ladder where you can use it to get up there and change a light bulb?
That'd be it.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think people would see a fire truck and,
Right.
for traffic reasons, but.
Yeah, if it's possible, we could ask the FD to help us with that. If not, we would rent a lift to do it, because I don't think ladders are possible. So for now, you know, not knowing anything different with, the street lighting, we just kept its status quo.
Well, once you get those utilities figured out, if we have a decent inventory of streetlights right now, that just seems kinda high, 25,000.
Yeah,
Would you agree? I mean,
there's a lot of streetlights.
yeah, but we're talking about a year.
Yeah, we've got the parks in here, all our regular street lighting. You know, I don't have any point of reference, so I don't even know what we pay at home.
Yeah,
Is that even a reference?
That's the right person, Harvey. Yeah, I think that'd be great if we could figure out if utilities are included in that. That, you know, just not only for this year, but for going forward, we should really have that broken down.
Right.
If it's not, then where are they going?
Yeah. And Brandon, to your point about the stoplights, I think this would be the natural place to put it.
Yeah, just,
'Cause there's not gonna be a separate.
their lights and they're on the street, I guess, I just, high level, I mean. And when I found out when I was down there helping clean, and they were like, yeah, you guys are responsible for that, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they told me that, and I said, no, that can't be. You've gotta be wrong. All right.
Do we know, so, another question, the lighting at the beginning of the trail, is that county, because we're in charge of the,
So my understanding is, Kevin checked on that, and I'd have to look back at my email, but we're responsible for the, operational costs of the trailhead.
okay,
So pumping the porta potties. I'm not 100% sure about like repairs to that little bike stand and pump, those kind of things. But I'm assuming those lights are fed off of our
I would think.
meter anyway.
Okay.
So,
And would that go, I mean, would we just put that under parks?
that might be hitting, this building,
Would it?
actually.
Okay.
But now the pumping of it would go to a park.
Different one? Okay.
Yep. So I can't imagine they sub-metered that.
So with everything you got plugged in right now, it looks like 11% increase, 11.17.
Yep, with a little bit of a caveat. I don't know why it's not showing here. I did up the numbers that we're transferring from the enterprise funds, water and sewer. I included all the salary and benefits and taxes in that calculation. I'll talk about that when we get there. And also the workers' comp. So it doesn't go back to this department, it just goes into the general fund, which is another oddity in my mind. But we are accounting for a good portion of that increase, because a lot of it is labor. So kind of that net increase was somewhere around 4%, if I include that. Which evidently isn't the proper accounting way to do it, but it helps me reconcile it a little bit. But yes, this increase would go, from what I understand how we do our property taxes, would go directly to the general fund, property tax line. The next page is just really a list of all the funds, so there's a couple in here that are ours, I don't need to go over that. The library, we're gonna do the last meeting this month, I believe, so we'll skip over that. Now I'm on page 10. That's just, I put this in here to talk about that capital fund. There is a line item in here for public works equipment. There's a line in here for capital contribution, and what I thought Mary had said earlier was previous council had decided just to lump everything together, so there weren't expectations that that's my money. So, something we'll have to talk about. The debt services, now I'm on page 11. Public Works Buildings is the top one. There wasn't an accountability for that, but I assume we're gonna just be plugging in the numbers that will owe in 2024, no more, no less. Is that?
So that's that 5,000, that we just pay every year. I think that's part of that, commercial lot with MnDOT moving up here. I think that's kind of what's part of that, isn't it?
That's what I assumed that was, yeah.
And where are we at now? Which fund?
This is the Public Works Buildings Debt
Okay,
Service.
thank you.
Page 11, that you can't see if you fold it over. They'll have to look at 12 and work your way back.
Debt services, thank you.
So we just want to verify those numbers with any of those debt service funds. Because unless the council decides, I don't think it's our intent to pay things off earlier than scheduled.
We should get a payment schedule, updated payment schedule from Chisago County HRA 88 on the commercial lot. A record of, you know, the checks they've received and what the balance is. We're told it's 125,000, but I'd like to see a history of, you know, we got 12 years there, but they certainly should have records.
Yeah.
We should have copies of them.
I was hoping we'd be able to get that for every one of our debt service funds. Because we have the well, we have this building, I think, too. We never got to stormwater, Lee. My guess is we'll probably just keep that consistent. There is a stormwater fee on water billings. I'm not 100% sure what it is. It's one thing I haven't done a lot of work on.
The stormwater fee is on what buildings?
They're on the water bill.
They're on the park.
Oh, okay.
We're not
yeah.
sure what.
With those people that are behind on their water bills, you know, the other thing to factor is it isn't just how much they owe. It's that, look at every billing, there's supposed to be the $10 new well fee on there. So they would be, you know, that'd be something else to take into consideration on these bills that are super old.
So when they get certified, that will also be included in the certification, and then as it gets paid back, it separates out to each individual account.
Okay.
So each time they make a payment, it will figure it all out.
Okay, so the water fund, it's 9 o'clock. Are we okay with going a little longer?
Sure, I'm assuming the sheriff's department shouldn't take long, the search shouldn't take long, and the fire department, you know. I haven't heard it back from Jake, so I'm gonna assume that last year's numbers are good. I think the main concern with the fire department is the pumper, right, so.
Yeah. Okay. So, I did an analysis and a comparison on what Taylor's Falls current rates are currently compared to Schaefer and Lindstrom. Mary was able to give me some good information on both of those communities. And I've just started to look at Center City, but all I have currently is Schaefer and Lindstrom. And I'll go through the numbers here, the first page, where it's handwritten on the top, current. So Taylor's Falls, Schaefer, Lindstrom. The first horizontal line is the resident water base use charge, or base charge. Taylor's Falls and Lindstrom have a base charge, so regardless of how much water you use, you're gonna get charged that. I believe Lindstrom's includes, I don't know, the first 8,000 gallons or some 5,000 gallons or something like that, I can't remember. And I do have all that information, if anybody wants it, I can get it to Mary and email out additional information, but Taylor's Falls has a static rate. It doesn't matter how much water you use, you pay the same rate. The other two communities that I polled, they have an escalating rate. The more water you use, the more you pay. So the water rate is the per 10 or per 1,000 gallon rate you pay. The column next to that, or wait, so you look at Lindstrom and it says rate including base fee. I've tried to calculate that into the per 1,000 gallon rate so we can get a good compare across the board. But you can see from a percentage perspective, we're way below. I believe one of the reasons, Schaefer has a couple of really small charges too. I wasn't able to determine what they were actually for, but when you put a new water meter in, when you build a new home, for example, you pay for the meter, you pay for the whack and sack, you do all of that. But then the city owns your meter. So we're responsible for any maintenance, repair, replacement on that. So I'm thinking that that base rate for TF is meant to cover meters. I don't know that for sure. We don't have a fee for that. We do have a line item in here that we're gonna use for meters, but we need to do something with our water rates. And I'm sorry, I haven't done a sewer compare yet. Our sewer fund looks really strong. Our water fund is a little bit low. Per Brad, our reserves should be 6 months of operational expense plus that year's debt service. And in my mind, if I did it right, it's somewhere around $90,000. And we're sitting, I think, at about 69, if I remember right. Always subject to update when we, get payments and stuff in. But, so we're a little low there. And Lee helped me with this. We have some known expenses that we have with valves. And we have a big bogey sitting up in the woods here that I call it the reservoir. I don't know what it's actually called. No one even knows when that was built. Unless that was
I have no idea, but I mean, I'm thinking back when the city was first put in water.
Ask Jack
Yeah.
Lillienberg, he
That's a
probably
good
knows.
one.
He might know,
He knows
because
everything.
he does.
they actually used to at the north end of Main Street, they used to collect water there from all them springs coming out. And they had a big piston pump there, and I think it pumped up to that tank.
So we're probably talking World War II era.
Yeah, that's what we're,
Well, I would
Probably.
say with Schaefer, there isn't a single person in Schaefer that hasn't complained about their water rates, like their water bills are stupid high.
Kevin couldn't believe it. That's where he lives, and he,
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but if you notice, like Lindstrom, their rates actually go up per usage. They don't go down. I mean, I agree, we should increase our rate, but then it also gets people to conserve it too. If they're gonna be paying more, per gallon because of their excess water usage, it also offsets, like when you have big places like a hotel using a lot more water than residents, that they should pay a higher per rate gallon. But I do agree, I mean, our rates should be increased.
Yeah,
What
in
would
the
it take
case
us
of,
to change?
I was gonna ask Mary offline, if our system would support graduated or differentiating rate. I'm not even sure why Schaefer does it, because the only real major difference is for that 50,000 plus category where it really jumps up. Otherwise, if you averaged all that out, I mean, it's,
They're making all their money on the homeowners at that per gallon rate. You know, most people are gonna be in that category. It almost encourages you to use excess water to get up to that 15 where it's gonna drop. It doesn't make any sense, but I just know everybody in Schaefer complains about their water bills, and I'm not really sure why they're even so high. All they have is Buffalo Ridge. You know, it's not like the town itself is big.
and I also don't know what the distribution of use is. Like, are 80% of our bills in the 15,000 gallons range? I don't know. It's the nice thing about a static rate. You're not having to guess or do that kind of tracking.
It's consistent.
So, but we need to do something, and the second sheet that has proposed at the top, on the front page, you see the two grayed out cells, 10% and $8. I built this so I could put in whatever numbers we wanted. I started at 10%, because I didn't think we wanted to do anything any more extreme. Again, I don't know what our average water billing is either, so, is it, you know, is that 10% $1.25 bi-monthly? Is it $10 bi-monthly? I don't know what that is, so we'll look a little bit into that as well.
So the base rate, you don't get any water for it, that's just the base rate.
Correct, in
Okay.
Taylor's Falls.
Right,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
I believe Center City and Lindstrom are a little different. You get a certain number of gallons with that.
Sure.
So basically, in other cities, that base rate is to help keep the infrastructure going. So
Right.
everybody has to pay that base rate regardless of water usage.
Right, right,
And
okay.
that's
Base
to
rate
make
goes
sure that,
Fixing of.
Right.
yeah.
Yep. Okay.
How, so with the 10% rate increase, what is that? If everything works out correctly and we only repair the things that we know are coming, how are we building up our reserve of that 10?
We're
Is
not.
there- Okay.
Not based on this budget.
Okay.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
It's better. I think, it netted us like $12,500,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, 11.5.
I think if you're comfortable with that rate, you know, it would be good that we make a decision on this now, not only to let the residents know, you know, that this decision has been made, but that we've got something declarative, going forward. The only thing is the percentage, you know, if you wanna discuss a percentage on water used. I see your point, Molly, I just don't know, we don't really have the businesses right now that, you know, we don't have that many businesses using that much water.
Right.
Right, so,
But you know, it's also, it's easier to make one change with something like this than it is to make multiple changes where we changed it and then next year we're changing
Right.
it again.
right.
And, you know, if it doesn't apply right now, it doesn't matter to any of the residents. It really is just already put into place that when we start having people that are using more water, it's already in place. Nobody that's only using, you know, the bottom 3 tiers of water usage, nobody's gonna care. something, but it's already in place, and then it protects the city as far as we're not having to raise rates again. I mean, it's just something to consider.
Well, I was just gonna speak to that. This is the first of.
Yeah,
It's gonna get
So I'm thinking we might be looking at 3 consecutive years or
Right.
3 over the next 5 or something like that.
A gradual ramp up so people don't get.
Right.
Right, because that wouldn't be fair, I don't think,
Yeah.
to do it all at once. I mean, look at the,
just keep it under Schaefer. I mean, Schaefer's stupid expensive, no offense, but.
Well, I'm fine with the 10% increase. What I would say is I'd like to look more into the usage and see maybe in the future
right,
if we can.
for 2025,
Yeah.
we have some time to do that research and
Yep.
So,
we may have another business coming in that might be a high user.
Oh, yeah.
so one option too, I think, is, I don't believe the city's had a feasibility study with their water rates, and that would be a very good place to start. However, it's too late to do it this year, so an increase would make sense. However, in the future years, to get that feasibility study done, so that you actually know where we're at.
Yeah, so we did plug in a placeholder of $1,000 for engineering fees. Primarily, that was to help Matt. Kevin also would like to purchase some equipment for locating, GIS type of equipment to help expedite that and be more accurate. So that's something we're also gonna wanna build a program for. Do we have to do it year one? You know, probably not, but it's something that we need to be cognizant of.
And how much are the meters?
The whole program with the application, equipment, was it $5,500, Lee? Does that sound familiar?
That was the valve exerciser.
Oh, that was with the valve exerciser?
No, it was 13,000 for the
Oh,
mapping,
That's
mapping in the program and locating equipment.
That's right, 'cause that was another use, excuse me, for the, capital fund for public works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we had talked about, the capital fund, because the equipment was so expensive.
So if we upped the base fee to $8, increase the usage 10%, the net increase was in that 11% range.
Another big thing down the road that we had talked about is, we got Kevin looking to see when the last time the wells were pulled for inspection.
Yes.
And of course, it's not cheap to do that either. If you gotta replace sections of pipe, whatever. But they tend to get pulled I thought it was like every 7 to 9 years to look at any corrosion problems, so it pump doesn't fall off, end up down in the well.
Yeah, so that line item you can see on page 13. For repairs and maintenance, we basically doubled the amount.
Right.
And again, this is an assumption on my part, that we can build our reserves, and when we do have a $20,000, preventive maintenance routine on a well, that we can just pull from those reserves, and not impact the annual budget to such a degree.
Yeah, because he had an estimate, he found in the file an estimate from back in 2014 when they pulled the well, and the estimate was 22,000.
So probably 30 at least.
Yeah, so,
And it's not something that needs to be done every year.
no,
But, got 3 wells. And if it's $30,000 for each well over a 10-year period, we should be reserving those kind of funds. And the state fee is kind of just a pass-through. You'll see a revenue item for that as well. It's $1.
And that did increase.
Oh, it did, okay. Currently, it's $1.62 on every bill that we get.
I believe that did go up though, and I'll have to look to see.
So we'll, and that goes to the state for whatever, I don't know. DNR, you know, I mean, they do well inspections and things like that, so I'm guessing that's part of it. And then Kevin, not included anywhere here, but just for an FYI, we did put our name in the hat for the grants related to the lead pipe.
You guys did fill that out?
Yep, the deadline was coming up like in 2 days. So Kevin submitted it, and so we'll figure that out. But that was 100% funded by the state. But if something comes out of that, like if we have to replace some of our pipe, which I don't think is probably gonna happen, I think we're in pretty good shape, but that will be an expense that in a future year. Questions about water, anything else?
Yeah, I just have one question on the water fund. Let me see if I can find the page that was on now. There we go, water fund. 601, we just made a payment on Monday of $65,506. I'm guessing that comes out of that 601, Mary, the water fund.
There's a,
I'm just wondering if we've made all our payments now for 2023. It was the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority.
right, I believe that's not out of 601, I believe that's out of,
604.
604.
Okay, thank you. The Well Debt Service Fund?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another one of those that we'll want to get the actual.
Yes, that's my point.
Yep. Sewer doesn't have anything from a debt service perspective that I'm aware of.
And as far as the sewer goes, with what we're getting ready to do starting next week, it comes out of this fund?
No,
No.
no, that is maintenance and repair or
Okay. Okay.
that, it would be fair for that to come out of this fund, because it's not.
Moving forward, now that the building's hooked up to sewer, if there's any issues, then we have to start.
So that's.
Potentially, that could always be a repair and maintenance item for this building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought we spoke with Brad and that was coming out of the sewer?
We can double check. I thought he had said it wouldn't be entirely appropriate for it to. I think he said he could
That's correct.
find a way to support it if we wanted to, but I thought he said it had to come out of another
That's correct, yes.
fund.
Okay. I just wanna make sure that if we take it, we
Yes.
put it back somehow.
Yes. Sewer, we left the same, we never got to that, we ran out of time on Tuesday. Again, I'll do a compare, hopefully I'll be able to inject it somewhere into the process, but the fund is sitting really, really good. The lines have all been, the lines have been lined. The infrastructure's been lined. I think the sewer system itself is in pretty good shape. The only thing I've heard is always the lift stations. But we had those, the main ones downtown just replaced. So those are new. And some control work, Lee, was that?
Yeah, Lightning just got the one something, I think Kevin said. And so they had to replace one of the dialers or something.
I was just gonna say, I thought I just saw a quote for a dialer.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So is that included in any of this budget, or is that something?
I'll have to check, I think it might be, but we're also wanted to check on the landline costs
Yeah,
for that.
Okay.
And Lee helped me, the generator that you're working on, is that for the lift station or a well?
lift station.
So that might be something in the future for having this much difficulty getting parts that we might
Yeah.
wanna consider replacing at some future date, but nothing this year is, we're planning for.
Right.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
One thing, and I don't know what fund it would be out of, but I let Brandon know, is the loop, Locust Briar. So all of those systems are aging out.
Yep.
And why they only ran water in the street and never ran sewer, I don't know. But those were put in before the county realized they should have 2 septic sites perked out instead of 1. And it's something that you guys, it's looming. It's
Yeah.
looming, and there, you know, I know Larry already had to replace his and they had to put it on top of the old system. I've sold for sure one house in there where it barely passed. And it's getting to the point where you guys need to really start planning and figuring that out. I realize that the houses are gonna get assessed, and I'm not really sure how it works with the city paying for it and assessing it, just FYI.
Yeah, that's a good point, thank you, because I actually talked to a friend of mine, we had supper with them on Tuesday night, and, they live in, Hugo. I think it's Hugo. Anyway, they live in a development, everybody has septic. And they, theirs need a replacement, and they're a small lot, it costs them $40,000 to replace. Shortly after that, the other residents started, they got a little nervous and they started talking about a petition to have sewer put in the development. So not only would Mike and Kelly have had to pay their $40,000 for a new septic, but they would have been assessed for the new
Mhm.
sewer as well. So to your point, I think the sooner we can get in front of the residents there, get some feedback, and maybe they can do some planning too. When I was on the joint sewer commission, in Center City, I know when they put the sewer system in, all out along the lakes and stuff, they didn't require people to connect, but they charged them every month for sewer access
Well, there's a
to
couple of
encourage them
options.
to do it.
So like in Elmoland on Maple Lane, cause I live there, all the houses that back up to 95, they have no place to put a septic. So they got a grant, and they actually put in a community drain field, and they ran a line that went down Maple and actually crosses 95 and is in a farmer's, it's in the corner of a farmer's field. So you got that option. But the other thing is I've seen where I've got people with wells, and then they put in city water, and they say that's fine, as long as it passes. You don't have to hook up yet, but then they give them a deadline of like 5 years. I will tell you that this is the first year I've had failing septics, where the tanks are cracked on the bottom. I've had 2 in the last month, and when I talked to the sanitarian, he said we had a bad frost 5 years ago, and he says they're all over. So, you'd have to have all those septics inspected to see if they are compliant. Chances are they're not. Just know that there's a whole bunch of failing septics out there that nobody knows about. Unless they're selling a home, there's really nobody going out and inspecting them. But I'm just letting you know that chances are, there's a bunch of failing septics on that road already. And then it becomes imminent, health hazard and all that stuff, but,
It's all sand over there, you don't know that they are.
right.
And you're not gonna have it checked if it's working.
Right.
Well, and I had one that, that tank was buried 10 feet down. I've never seen one that deep, but I know I did. And that one was heaved up from the bottom, and the same with the last one I just did, and that one wasn't as deep, but they're all heaving and cracking up from the bottom. So you're not gonna see them crack unless you drain the whole tank.
I know another way to go, like you said, the community drain field, because we have sewer right up in front of your place there.
No, I don't want it.
I know you do, but we have a manhole there. The way they did it down in Marina on St. Croix, they have a huge community drain field.
Yep,
But they hooked to everybody's tank, smaller
Yeah.
line, and then it's pumped. And then it's pumped up into the lift station that goes out to that community drain
and they
field.
do pay a sewer fee, cause I actually sold one of the houses in Marine that's attached to that whole system.
Yeah,
So
so
I
yeah.
mean, you
it's-
have options, it's just that it should be something you guys should have looked at honestly 5 years ago. So it's something you should really have on your plate now to figure out what the options are. And you could talk to the neighbor that's on the other side of 95 with that big field about taking over some of it for a community septic if that's your easiest route. But also talking to the county and the state about what they're willing to let you do too. Cause they might say, look, you got sewer right in the street, we want you hooked up on the street, you know? But just an FYI as far as your budget goes and, just something to kind of,
Well, the way to go,
Put
would
on
be-
your-
the way to go would be to pump it up to that manhole.
yeah,
Then you're not taking up any more land.
right.
But you could hook them all together and have it go that
Right,
way.
yeah.
It'd be,
I mean,
You're only putting in like a 2 or
100% of the
3 inch
homeowners
pipe
will be mad about
instead
it,
of a big
but there's nothing you can do.
8-inch pipe. So,
Yeah.
there's ways to do it.
Yeah, and there's probably grant money, like I said, Elmwood was able to get some grant money for this, and they had all the homeowners, fill out paperwork that they could submit. A lot of it was income-based, I think that helped, you know, as far as, getting some of the grant money. But just a thought, regardless whether it's hooking up to sewer or community septic, there's probably some grant money out there. The state doesn't want everybody's, old septics leaching into the ground anyway, so there's a reason behind giving some grant money for that, and they usually will give you, like up to, I think it's $37.50, if you have a failing septic and you need financial help to repair it, they will give you up to 50% of the cost, but it's gotta be under, I think, $37.50, so, MPCA does help with that. So my guess is MPC may have also help for cities with stuff like this too, if that helps.
Yeah, thank you. So I think I can, unless there are other questions.
No, just confirmation, you know, on that water rate increase. Just an agreement, I think we're all in agreement on that. It'll probably be part of the regular budget, but thank you for your work on that.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
It's kind of some of the cold realities, right, that we're gonna have to face.
Right.
It's nice to take a first step on that.
All right.
Are we ready? Okay, so if we can, we'll just start with the things we know for the most part, and, let's go with the 42-100, this is a contracted policing services. Contract calls for, from the Sheriff's Department, $143,873, so I guess at this point I'm requesting that for the 2024 budget, we plug in $144,000 for the Sheriff's Department for that contract. That is a total of 2,080 hours. We're looking at quarterly payments of $35,968.
Where are you?
I don't have a percentage.
Page 4. It's on the one with the single staple.
We're good? Okay. So last year was 133,500. That figure, we talked about this last week. What is in there for 98,791.36 for actual, that is incorrect. We could either be carrying over, probably carrying over a late payment from 2022.
So
And then I know you were out, Mary, but with, again, the checks for those, so we can find out what was actually done there.
Sure.
When you can.
Yep.
So they went up 7.87%.
Thank you. Did some work on that?
It says it
I
on the
plugged
right.
it, I plugged it in already.
Okay, good.
Well, where to the right it says 7.87%. Do you not have that on?
No, I didn't get the copies that you handed, so.
Well, no, I think right when you, it's on.
It's
Yeah, I
on
know.
yours.
Yep.
Lauren.
No.
I plugged it in when I saw the email come through with the contract, so.
So that would be my first request. I mean, we certainly can have some discussion. But, and it goes without saying thank you, the Chisago County Sheriff's Department for all their assistance and all their help. We did work out the community center issue, and thank you for everybody for your work on that too, where they'll be billed directly, you know, or they'll receive the bill directly.
Just a side note too, Sheriff Nine will be coming at our first meeting in September just to discuss too with council, so.
I think it would be nice if we could get, an affirmation on this. I think we're all in agreement. The contract isn't due back until September 30th, right?
Correct, when I spoke with him, he takes this time period to get all the contracts from all the cities, and he actually doesn't turn it in and do anything until November. However, he wants it early, so the
Okay.
sooner we get it signed, like in
That'd be
September, then we don't have to
Okay.
worry about it.
That'd be great.
So that'll be on the next council meeting in September.
And I can move to the fire department unless there's any more. Anything there? Okay. I've reached out to Jake a couple times. I haven't heard back from him. I guess he's on vacation now. So what I would propose at this point is and I will send this in the email when I talk about the truck, but we'll propose we keep the same numbers from 2023 and carry them over. I haven't heard anything back from him, and I will suggest to him that's what we're gonna do at this point. And I do, again, thank you to the fire department for coming in, $12,821 under budget. I went to the audit, the 2022 audit. We actually have an actual expenditures of $66,479. But for 2022, they budgeted $79,300, and for 2023, so. I'm assuming, I haven't heard back from them, they're gonna come on in underneath that again for 2023.
So the only question I would have is, I believe this year they're gonna be over budget on training because of that extra. So maybe just double check that they don't have any additional trainings that they wanna go to if you wanted to up that.
Okay, I think through June, just the USB spreadsheet, they're $166 over the 5,000 that was allowed. And they did go to that big convention down in Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis.
Yes.
So I don't know if Jake plans on doing that every year or would like to.
So that's training and instruction.
Yeah.
So you might wanna go up. What is he at, 5?
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
500 more, so 5,500.
Okay. Okay, I will do that, and then, those final numbers we'll probably hopefully have next week. And I will get to CERT. So at the top, we might have 80,000 for the fire department.
Yeah.
Looking about that,
Yep.
okay. I did talk to Joanne Kuntemeyer with CERT earlier this week. We would propose, and she agreed, we would propose a $300 budget for CERT. That would basically be to cover training, training programs. If we get it reinstituted, there's gonna be CPR and first aid trainings, and I think those jumped from went from $50 to $40 each. So if there's new members that come in or recertified, that's how much that would be, and she figures $300 would cover that. Last year we had 1,000. I think 1,000 was plugged in, and that's just because it was based on expenditures made for a laptop and and the radios, I think, might have been in there, maybe that was the year before, yeah.
I think it was just a laptop. So you want it up the operating or?
No,
Or, I mean, lower that, the same, and then add in the 300 for training? Is that what you're saying?
no, we're looking at a total for CERT of 300.
So cut it down to 3.
Cut it down to 300. I thanked her for giving the $700 back to the city. Just a little more realistic. It jumped up because of the laptop and the radios.
Do you think
We'll bring that down.
with like the CPR training, she asked me to, if we could talk to Jake and see if maybe when they do their CPR training, CERT can join. And she also wants us to work on trying to advertise on our site to try to get some new people there, because right now,
Yeah.
they're needing,
Right.
they're needing help.
Right, and we did discuss that a little bit as well. So she is gonna, I think she's gonna reach out to you about that.
Yep,
And then,
she did. Do you think instead of 3, we go to 5 and just cut it in half, just in case Jake asks for a little extra to have them join, if he allows them to join CPR training, if anybody needs certification over there? I'm just trying to think. So we don't expect his budget to pay it?
Yeah, but I guess at this point, no.
Okay.
At this point, no. We had it at, what was it, 100, we blew the budget in 2022 by $909, because we had it set at 100 and went and spent 1,000. So,
Well, maybe-
our track record, if we can keep it below that.
Maybe you should just go right at 5 and cut it in half from last year, that way you got a little bit of something.
But it seems like we should have an object for training,
Right.
and it seems a
Oh,
little
that's
unrealistic they wouldn't have any supplies.
Right.
But the 300 was for training.
No, the 300 was the total budget,
Oh,
that's what we
total.
agreed on.
Oh, okay.
She figured that would cover the training at this point, and then I told her, like I said, if we went over that, then we'll know for next year, for 2025, but,
Okay.
she was recognizing the $909 increase. Wanted to keep it in line.
Okay.
She's not gonna, I guess I would suggest we keep it at 3, and then if we go over, we go over. She's not gonna,
Yeah.
reject the 500. If I go back to her, she'll be happy with it, but, it's kind of just a cold reality of, let's bring it back into perspective a little bit. Let's start bringing that budget line back into perspective.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
We have one other agenda item here we can talk about really quick, so we can get out of here a little later than usual, but we did get one bid so far. We kind of spoke about this last week, that I reached out to another accounting firm, and they weren't taking anybody new on for any type of accounting work in the municipality. We still need, probably, I would say, to go out and try to find at least one more. But Abdo did send over what will cost for the audit this year, and then as far as the accounting side of Abdo, their rates are going up, and they wouldn't have anything to us until the end of the month, maybe beginning of September. But, they're looking at 20,500 for the audit and then another 900 on that to, report to the state.
Yeah, if we can get that plugged in too, then into the next spreadsheet.
Yep, and I say we just do that, cause I mean, I'm probably pretty close to what the other places are, and then I'll do my best to try to find another.
What's the amount for the state?
900, for the Office of the State Auditor reporting.
I think you have a sheet too, it was an email that you may have. If not, I can give you a copy.
I didn't get it, but that's,
Okay.
And on the thing, we're gonna separate it this year too on our spreadsheet, so it's just gonna have a section for auditing, and then below it'll be accounting services, so we can make sure that we're not lumping everything into one, so we can see true cost. Cause right now, everything last year is just
lumped.
piled on it, so.
So the financial services, Abdo Financial Services would be separated out, the Abdo audit, right?
Yeah, totally different. Any questions on that? And I'll try to, by the end of the month, have somebody else give me a quote, but the league site wasn't helpful. I shouldn't say it, it was helpful, but they aren't looking for new business, so.
And are most of what other auditing firms do the cities along Highway 8 use? Are they all with, do we know?
I'm not sure.
You know,
Just read an article and thought it was the Stock County Press, another one, I don't remember.
I think it's,
They used Abdo too.
yeah.
Really?
I thought I saw that too.
Abdo's in multiple states, they're huge, so I can see, but there has to be somebody else out there just to.
Right.
There are many, we can just maybe call some other cities, maybe not along the
Okay.
river,
Right,
but
right.
outsourced, further out we can look too.
Southwestern Minnesota, who knows?
Okay. I'll call my brother-in-law at the city of Greg and ask him who they're using, he'll let me know, if they're using somebody different, I'll get contact.
Just as long as they have a local office.
Yeah. Okay, well, we need to adjourn, but how do we do this again?
Recess?
Yep, we need to move our meeting to recess, so I need a motion and a second to recess our budget meeting until next Thursday, the 24th.
I would make a motion that we recess the meeting until 8 AM, August 24th.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And just a reminder, I won't be here for that.
Okay. As soon as I get something, I'll have Mary email it out so everybody can see what auditing firm
Yeah.
they can choose.
this is bad.
I'm guessing they're gonna be pretty close.
I have permits.
At 9:43.
And then, Mary, can you tell me what are the possibilities of getting an updated spreadsheet before the next budget meeting?
Is it?
I would say very good, the only thing that held me up was I got sick.
I know, yeah, so
So I'll be
that'd
in
be good.
this weekend to get everything updated. I will not be here on the 24th though.
Okay.
So I will update Brandon, possibly Tim, because he's familiar with spreadsheets, so he can kind of look at it.
Sure.
Oh, you're.
So I just entered their new rate with the state reporting and they went up 9.6. When I
Really?
said I was looking at those, they were always, they all averaged at 10%, so right now.
Okay, so they're following, Abdo's following this.
And
So-
where we started.
So 9.6 is what their increase is. So 10% is the key. Everything I've looked at is 10%, everybody's awesome. I wanna be 22% state, there at the city, just to.
I would imagine it.
The mic's still hot.
I know it is, I'm teasing.
So-
We get, these usually get updated or what?
If you'd like.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Okay.
Your homes.
Let me just,